What is up, everybody? Welcome back to High School Never Ends, a Pop Punk Dad podcast. I am Wingman Steve.
And I'm Chris183.
Hey, Chris, we are here with a special episode. You know, everybody out there has been asking us these questions. You know, we've gone to a couple of fun shows recently, and they wanted to know how they went. So we're going to do a little recap on a couple of these shows. Chris, you're going to start off. What show did you go to?
So I took the 3.5-hour trek west. No, I didn't go to California. That'd probably be a little bit further than 3.5 hours. And I didn't go to Chicago, where maybe somebody else on this show was, but I did go to Columbus, Ohio. And I made that trip so I can see the band that I have been a fan of since the early 90s. And that's the band by the name of Weezer for the travel, or was it the Journey to the Blue Planet tour, if I'm saying that correctly. I have to go back and look at it. But, well, I don't even know where to start. People have asked me about it. But yes, Steve, so that's where I went, was Columbus, Ohio, for a nice overnight trip with my buddy Movie Steve to see Weezer.
That sounds awesome. We have Punkish Dad here with us as well. He took a trip to Chicago with me. But hey, Punkish Dad, what's up?
Hey, what's going on, guys? Glad to be here.
Absolutely. But we want to hear all about Weezer. So this is a drive concert. It wasn't a fly concert. And you said Journey to the Blue Planet is what it was called?
It's if I'm off. Sorry, I just had to take my contact lens out.
Can you see us
still? Bothering my eye. Yeah, I can still see you. It's weird, but yeah, guys, it was Journey to the Blue Planet, and so this was one that when I bought the tickets in, I think it was March. It was earlier this year, and it said Journey to the Blue Planet. If I'm off on a word or so, whatever, but I didn't really know what that meant. I knew one thing, though. I knew that this was the anniversary of the Blue album, and not just any anniversary, the 30-year anniversary of the Blue album, which is mind-blowing. And it's really weird because couple weeks prior to that, I had the opportunity to see Green Day, and they were doing the 30-year anniversary of Dookie and the 20-year anniversary of American Idiot. So that said, Green Day did the entire album of Dookie, and so the one thing I knew about this Weezer concert that I knew that there was no way in the world that I could miss it is they were going to do the entirety of the Blue album, which for me was a must go no matter what.
Now, may I pose a question about the entirety of the album?
Yes, you may.
How did the show setlist go? Did they do the whole album in order like Green Day did, or was things split up?
So they did, let me think about this for a second, because you guys hit me several weeks after the concert. I don't think it was the album. No, it was the album in order, because what it was is they played a bunch of different stuff, and I'll get into how they did that and the theatrics of it. But once they got to said Blue Planet, then they did the album in order.
So you're saying there was like a journey. They had to get to the Blue Planet. So they didn't open the show with the Blue album. They opened the show with other songs. Then when they got to the Blue Planet, then they did all of Blue?
Yes.
All right. What I really want to know about, and if you want to go somewhere else, go somewhere else. But I saw some of your videos, and I wanted to know about the stage and all that stuff, because it looked pretty cool from what I saw.
Yeah, it was amazing. And by the way, I'm looking it up just to remind myself. So yes, I'm correct. All right, so here it goes. Are we just getting into it? There's no more setup? Like, we want to know what this was all about? And by the way, so it's funny because Punkish Dad, you were one of the ones that had commented on one of the videos that I posted, and so I'm in the concert, and Steve's like, you got to post some videos. I'm like, fine. So I'm like, how do I do that? Like, outside of just taking a video, you know? And he was like, hold down on the button and do it this way. I'm like, okay. So I did that. And apparently I did it wrong because I got a message about why didn't you do it this way instead of that way. But I guess the only downfall of the way that I did do it was it only gives you so much time to film and then it cuts it off, which is fine. I mean, it gives you little snippets. But what I really wanted to show there was the countdown into like the beginning of the show, but where it cut off was the end of the countdown. So here's what I'll give you the kind of the through and through. And if you are going to this concert, I think it's still going on. I don't believe they're wrapped up yet. I can't be sure of that. But if you are still going to be going to this concert, spoilers. So just a heads up. But they start things off with like a news report on the on like this voyage of the band Weezer, going to find the blue planet. And they have them on and they talk to them. And it's actually funny the way that that they talk about the launch and what they're going to do. And Rivers is like kind of not listening. And one of the other guys says, like, this is stupid. Like, it's really funny the way they kind of frame that up. But they do that. And then all the lights go down and the countdown begins. And it was like, about a minute. And it got down to 1. When that happens, obviously, Punkish Dad, you saw that. It cut out, and you'll never know what's going to happen there. And I really wish I would have gotten that piece of the video, because what's really cool is on the stage was like, kind of think of half of a spaceship. So like the top half of a spaceship was in the middle of a stage pointing up. And everybody knew that most likely Weezer was underneath the spaceship, but it was still really cool when that countdown went off. They did this big, huge graphic wall behind that simulated a launch, and the top of the spaceship kind of launched into the air, and underneath was Weezer, and they were all dressed as astronauts, and they came out to a song called Anonymous. So they actually started with a couple songs that were off some of the newer albums, which was very interesting. They didn't start off with, a favorite from yesteryear. They started off with some new stuff. But the crowd was just electric for this. Like when they came out, everybody was just on their feet, dancing, singing. Like it was crazy. And it was an awesome way to kind of start this show. And one thing I want to make sure that I mention is, that video wall behind them, because I talked about the theatrics of it throughout the entire show. This wasn't just a rock concert. Like, you think about, I think, Steve, you had made the comment in the past, like Weezer has a tendency not to jump around the stage and be crazy. But the fact of the matter is that because they made this into like a theatrical experience, they didn't necessarily have to be nuts all over the stage. It was the music, it was the show, it was them, it was everything kind of combined that kind of all melded together, and it was a visual spectacular, in my opinion. So that's kind of how it started.
And so what about the music itself? They nailed everything, I'm sure.
They did. It's funny because one of the things when we had our Weezer episodes, what was it now, about a year ago? I don't know if you remember. We did Maladroit and we did Green, and we did Green, right? We did. I believe we did.
We
may not have. We may not have actually.
Yeah, I think we did Blue, Red, Maladroit, and Pinkerton, right?
Okay, you're right. So, but we talked about Dope Nose, which is what the song that I liked off of Maladroit, versus Hash Pipe. That was a lot more, I guess, just mainstream. It was, you heard it more out there. They did those songs back to back. So Dope Nose was first. Obviously, I was all about it. Hash Pipe was after that. And they mixed it up great. And they sounded on point. Like, everything sounded perfect. There was not a song that sounded bad. I don't know how else to put it. Like they just hit on every note. And it's funny because, Rivers Cuomo, just like a lot of other artists, but the guy's getting, starting to get older, right? They're all getting a little bit older. These guys were around in the 90s, obviously 30 years of an album, but they don't sound any different than how they sounded back then, and it's crazy how they're able to keep that longevity, keep that sound, keep everything going, and be able to do what ended up being a 25 song set list with very minimal breaks. It's another thing I'll tell you. It's like the breaks there was barely any. Like, you think some bands probably have a lot of like in between, and there was in between stuff, but these guys were marathon men in this one. They continued to go, and it was awesome.
So again, going back to the set list, and I didn't look at it because I wanted to hear it from you. So they basically did a handful of songs. They went to the Blue Planet. They did Blue, and then they did a handful of other songs afterwards, or did the show end, like, was there a bunch of stuff and Blue was like the end of the show?
Blue was the end. Okay. But it wasn't actually, yes, it was the end. So what it was is the songs leading up to Blue was their journey to the Blue Planet. So imagine them like kind of being in a spaceship and flying around wherever it was, outer space, and oh no, we got we something happened with our spacesuits. They got burned a little bit, or something happened. We need to get new clothes, so we're going to go to Planet Beverly Hills. And they went to Planet Beverly Hills. The background was like a futuristic type of Beverly Hills-ish planet as they sang the song. At one point in time, and this is really cool, there was this alien thing that they introduced. So it was like this weird face that was just like an alien thing that was just basically a head that rode around inside of its own UFO. And this thing was chasing them around. And there was one point in time where this thing shot down their spaceship, okay? And it damaged a lot of the parts. So they were, all the red lights were flashing, and they had to make a pit stop, and they needed to retool and find some parts on Planet Pinkerton. And they went to Planet Pinkerton, and, they started with Get You. This is beginning to hurt. This is beginning to be serious. It was kind of like fit into the whole thing about the ship going down. It was really cool the way they kind of tied that in. And they did Get You, Why Bother, Pink Triangle. You Gave Your Love to Me Softly, which really wasn't on Pinkerton. And then they did Across the Sea too. They nailed it. I mean, look, I wish they would have done El Scorcho as well, but you can't have everything, right? But they kind of interwove the songs into the story, which again, I thought was awesome. I thought that was a great idea, but they did all of that. They even mixed in a bunch of stuff like, I talked about Green and Maladroit, Island in the Sun, Perfect Situation, which was on none of those, but that was in there too. They did Burnt Jam, and actually I looked back. They do Burnt Jam a lot. They do Burnt Jam. I think it's probably like an interlude or a break for Rivers because it's all instrumental. But yeah, so eventually they get to Planet Blue, and they start with My Name is Jonas. And at that point in time, the crowd is just, it's electric again. Like, it's amazing to hear that start. And especially because you're going to hear the entire album. There's some songs in here I never heard them sing. So it was really cool to hear that from front to back.
It sounds almost like an Eras tour, like of Weezer. Like they're doing the different eras, but they're, creating this planet narrative.
Planets instead of eras. That's kind of a clever concept.
It was. I mean, you kind of did feel like you were kind of going through the different time periods, but it wasn't necessarily in order. You were kind of going backwards, I guess. And I really enjoyed that. So, I think it wasn't just the band and the songs. It was also the energy of the crowd. There wasn't one person sitting. Everybody was into it. Everybody was singing. It was amazing. And, this isn't necessarily the biggest arena in the world, but it's a pretty big place. And we had pretty good seats. We weren't on the floor, but we were as close to you can get to the floor without actually being on the floor. So we had a really good view of what was going on. And it was really cool to see that. So all in all, and the arena itself definitely, it was fine. Like, we got in and out no problem. Columbus is a nice city to go to and visit if you've never been there. There's a lot of cool things to do. But the Nationwide Arena, no issues, right? It was a nice venue.
So one last question for you. Did you cry, or were you close to crying?
I didn't cry, but definitely got caught up in the emotion of it. I don't necessarily belt out. Obviously, I shouldn't belt out too much.
I heard you belting out during those videos.
Yes, I did, and I knew it was going to be on there, and I didn't care. I didn't care. I just wanted to sing. Yeah,
you were in the moment. Good for you.
I cared later when I listened to it. I'm like, oh, that's a little off key, but in the moment, it did not matter to me. Sang the whole thing kind of through. On most of the songs, I mean, I knew the words to probably about 90% of these songs. A couple of them that came in, like, I don't really know, Anonymous or Return to Ithaca. I don't know those songs that well, but the rest of them I absolutely did. So
that's awesome. Do you have a top 3 like tracks from the show by chance?
I don't think you. First of all, like, I don't think you can really say. I couldn't have a top 3 without Only in Dreams. That's where they ended the show, and that's an enormous song to begin with, and we talked about that one, I think, on the Weezer episode, but for Blue Album, this is a song that's a long song. I think it's 4 or 5, maybe even 6 minutes. But it starts you down here very low, and it just builds and builds and builds and builds and builds until you get to the end, which is a huge instrumental part and a great way to end the show. So that, I don't think, again, you can have a top 3 without saying My Name is Jonas, just because that was the first song that they did when they finally hit the Blue Planet. It's the first song in the album. It's the first song that I remember hearing when I bought not that I remember hearing, that I heard when I first popped in the Blue Album. I had only heard up to that time the Sweater Song, maybe Say It Ain't So, but My Name is Jonas was definitely one that just set the crowd on fire. And then another one, I'd say the other top 3, it's got to be, like, Why Bother is really good, but Across the Sea, I really like that song. And, that's super emo Chris 183, but Across the Sea has an emotional power to it, in my opinion, that you can't beat. So to hear that live in that setting with the people around me that were singing, and I was looking around to see who was singing this song, and there was everybody basically. So Across the Sea, Only in Dreams, and My Name is Jonas were my favorite, but I could probably make you 15 different lists with 3 different combinations of songs, and they'd all be different. So it's just how I feel right now.
It kind of sounds like, as a average Weezer fan myself, that I may have had a good time seeing it. It sounds really cool.
You may have, and I'll get one more thing here. I would say that in comparison to some of me and Movie Steve talked about this. So, we thought about the other times that we saw Weezer, and I'm going to say it's number 2 of all time. Because I'm not, in 2011, when I had never seen them before, and I had been fans of them for 2 decades, to see them for the first time, to be in the front row, like to find my way to the front. That's when I was still getting into the crowds and doing weird stuff, with crowd surfing and all that awesome stuff. But that was, I cannot beat that. Like 2011, that was my favorite Weezer concert. Seeing them for the first time and being in the mix. But this is a close second for sure. Just to kind of put some closure, I would see this show 1,000 times in a row if I could. So can't wait till next time. I don't know how they're going to top it, but it was absolutely worth the money and the time.
That is awesome. All right, so the next show that we're going to talk about was a little trip that we took to Chicago with a friend, obviously, who's joined us here. He was an internet friend before, but he's a real life friend now. So Punkish Dad, we're going to talk about our little trip to Chicago. We both had to get there from far away. And for everybody listening, we have a little bit of a special guest talking about the Matches show. Shawn Harris is here. We're going to ask him a couple of questions. Shawn, what up, man?
I had a little ways to get to Chicago too. I had to travel with some friends.
I hope you took a shower since the show because it looked a little sweaty towards the end.
Yeah, it was pretty gross. I forgot about that. Wringing out the clothes aspect. What do you do? What do you do with your suitcase when everything's wet inside? Didn't bring that like beach bag that you would usually have for like a swimsuit, but it was that level of drench.
Well, this show was fantastic. Whether or not you're listening to our conversation about it, it doesn't really matter because this was, I got to say, I go to a lot of shows, and this show was like absolutely electric. Had such a fun time. But Lad, I'll let you, again, this was two friends meeting up in a city that neither of us call home to see a band that doesn't play a whole lot of shows in a city that they don't call home. Lad, do you want to give the audience a little recap of your and I's journey to the House of Blues in Chicago?
I just want to say that sounds like a recipe for disaster. Like band never plays, it's not your hometown. But okay, go on, Lad.
Yeah, it ended up exactly the opposite of a disaster. Really, everything went really smooth, and so Steve flew in. I'm able to drive there, so I picked him right up. We spent a few hours in the city and got to see the matches, and boy, what a show! I mean, I've seen a lot of shows too, similar to Steve, and it was, top tier. One of my favorite shows of all time. The energy was just unmatched, and it was just really exciting to be there. It was one of those where every person in the audience knows every word, and there's something special about those kinds of shows. So it was really just quite an experience. Glad we got to experience it. And now me and Steve are friends IRL.
Yeah, Lad, you skipped something that was important. We went to Chicago and we had a little bit of time before the show, and we went to get pizza, and we did not get deep dish pizza because I refused to get deep dish pizza.
Yeah, important detail. Yeah, we did the real Chicago style.
Shawn, are you Chris deep dish guys or no?
I mean, that's like all of your pizza calories for a month in one sitting. I mean, it's not tasty, but like stacking 4 pieces of pizza on top of each other. It's like a lasagna, you know what I mean? Like it's you can't. I don't think you can miss with pizza, whether you're like artisanal or like deep dish or New York style, greasy, fresh. Like you put chicken and barbecue sauce on it. I don't think you can really miss. But
well, I agree with you, except you can mess with pizza. You can. If you go the route, and I for those of you that go this route, I'm sorry. I disagree, but pineapples should be nowhere close to pizza. So I don't care what they are.
Hard to disagree. But my problem is growing up as a New Yorker. I like the flat pizza, and to me, like I've eaten the deep dish, and we went to Illuminati's, which is like the famous place, and I ate the deep dish, and
that's like Illuminati's is meant to sound like Illuminati, right? Like it's the guy's name, but is it supposed to
Lou? Yeah, Lou.
Or is that a real guy?
I think it's a real guy. I don't know.
For years, I heard people talk about that being the classic Chicago pizza restaurant, and I thought it was called Illuminati's, and I was like, "That's cool."
Yeah.
You're like, I'm not part of the club, but to me, the deep dish is tasty. But the few times that I've eaten it, here's the problem: is that the deep dish it stays in your belly for like days, and if you're going to a punk rock show,
you can't play punk rock after deep dish. No.
You're attempting to jump. That's not gonna work out. And Lad, we went on a tour of all the local establishments in downtown Chicago, and we sampled fine food and drink. It was fantastic. We had a good time, and we got over to the House of Blues, which I had been to one time before, and we saw the opening band, which I found out is from Philly, which is where I live. They were really good. Steady Hands. You guys have a long history with them, a little bit.
Yeah, the singer Steady Hands was in band Modern Baseball. I don't know if you guys remember them, but great pop punk band from the Midwest. And yeah, we liked them. They were kind of coming up around the time that the matches were kind of on our way out of playing 300 shows a year. But we liked that band, and then we kind of followed him. And yeah, they opened for us at the Metro. Maybe not last time we played in Chicago, but the time before that. So yeah, we keep in touch with Shawn.
So how, speaking of Chicago, which is a fine city, I enjoy visiting Chicago, and the crowd's fantastic. I'm just curious. So you guys are only had scheduled 2 to 3 or 4 shows this year. I think one was in L.A., one was in the Bay Area, and then Chicago. So how do you guys as a band choose and say, like, all right, this is where we're gonna play one of the few shows?
That's a good question because that that project isn't over, but yeah, we aren't going on tour the way that we used to. But we are talking amongst ourselves, and we had a really good time playing these reunion shows here. We kind of got over that at the 10-year point. Everybody was like, oh wow, like people will show up for us playing a 10-year reunion of this album or that album. And this sort of felt like, this being the 20-year reunion of our first album, it was like sort of the occasion. It was the occasion why we started talking about getting together, and we did end up playing a lot of that first record. I think all the songs, but 1, 2, 3, something like that. I don't even remember what songs we omitted, but like, it wasn't. We didn't like play the record from front to back or anything. It was like a little heavier weighted on the first record, this show, but only I think naturally. So, and we all had a lot of fun. So we're trying to figure out, what like long weekend we can take and what's the next place we hit, Chicago was kind of,
how did Chicago get the nod?
Nice. Well, Chicago was always our home away from home. Back in the day when we were just booking all of our own stuff DIY, we hooked up with this band, the Plain White T's from Chicago, and they were doing everything DIY at that point too. So we just started trading shows, and the occasion of like having a show that we knew was going to sell out because the Plain White T's did well in their hometown, and them having a show that they knew was going to sell out in California, and we would be main support. That was the agreement. We'd be main support on the sold out shows in our hometowns. And then we would kind of be able to sort of call clubs and fill out dates in a DIY sense in between California and Chicago. And those were our first tours that we ever booked. And I think because we've been going to Chicago the longest of places we've been playing outside of California, we sort of have that, like, people that have been seeing us in Chicago have been seeing us for a long time in Chicago, and pretty frequently too, because we would always base our tours around, well, we got to get it back at least as far as to Chicago. Eventually we started adding New York and stuff, but I think also in terms of how long people live in New York, there's probably all the people that used to come see us in New York probably live in Jersey or somewhere else now. You know what I mean? People that live in the city proper, kind of, there's like that sort of 10-year wave, and the same can be kind of true in the Bay. People kind of move out to the suburbs and stuff, might not come to shows as much. I don't know. Chicago seems to be like, I don't know, you sort of live and die in Chicago, right?
Well, it's also kind of, it's not like super easy, but like for somebody who lives in the East Coast or the West Coast, like you don't have to go across the entire country. For me, it was a 2-hour flight. So it's like, all right, that's not like a hop, skip, and a jump, but it's really not all that bad, if we can go out of our hometowns and take a flight.
You got the 2 major airports. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So you actually went into something that I was going to ask about in the set list. So been to a lot of shows that are reunion shows, right? This was an Yvonne Dahl, Kill the Locals, a celebration of the album, right? So, and you guys did play almost the entirety of it, but it was not in order. And I've seen a lot of these reunion shows where they're played in order. We were just talking with Chris about the Weezer show where they played like a handful of songs and then they played the whole Blue album. So I've seen a bunch like that. Yeah. And then I've also seen, like the Starting Line. I've seen them do Say It Like You Mean It, but it's not all in a row. So was there some sort of like cognizant thing that says like, we are going to do, or we're not? Obviously you didn't do the whole thing in order, which I actually enjoyed, especially with your set list, because it was all sprinkled.
Yeah. No, I think so. Having done the 10-year reunions where everything was in order, this was sort of testing the water. Like, does just like a regular show work, or are you guys just showing up for like the birthday party kind of thing? And I think we found that the regular show worked. So yeah,
absolutely. Steve and I were talking about it during the show. We're like, oh, I like. You started out with the first 2 or 3, I think, in order, and then switched it up, and it was fun because we didn't know what was coming next, and so it was always kind of a surprise. So
yeah,
I was actually that venue. I gotta say, I turned over to Lad, maybe 2-3 songs in, and I don't think that I've ever been to a show. I've been to a lot of shows. I felt the ground shaking.
It bounces.
I'm gonna give. I don't know.
I noticed that too. That was wild.
Yeah.
I was like, "Are we in California on a fault line? Is this okay? Yeah, okay, all right."
And I'll give the credit to the matches. I don't know if that's a House of Blues the way that they were built, but maybe just the excitement.
Don't give the credit to the match. Give the credit to the matches fans, man. I was just about to say when you guys were like, "The show was great. This band barely plays. They didn't disappoint." I'm like, I can't actually say whether we disappointed or not, but like the community aspect of our shows have always been really big. But I noticed that now that we're like not playing very frequently, I keep expecting people to come out and it feels a little bit more subdued because people are older and everything, but it's exactly the opposite happens. And I'm sure there will be a time when everyone's like, all right, cool, I need a break. Like, can we get some chairs in here or something? But not yet. No effects just hung it up, but they're still running around in skirts and they're 20 years older than me. So maybe I was feeling old before my time.
No, there were still large gentlemen creating circle pits and crowd surfing and all that stuff. But how did it feel? I mean, you saw there were a bunch of kids. People brought their kids there. What does it feel like being a musician in the middle age? Not an old. You're not old. We're not old. Okay.
Yeah. No, it felt like, I know when we were kids, didn't it feel like it was hard to fathom a middle. It was either you're young or you're old, And we are the age that I thought of people as being old now. But now that we're in the middle, it's like, oh, no. I can see the nuance of where we're at a little bit better. It's a trip. The grown-up children of fans is a trip.
Kids that are old enough to go to a concert.
The 19-year-old first crowd surf at our show while their dad is like, "That's my girl." That's a wild one. That's wild.
Yeah, I did notice that Steve and I were pretty close to the stage. We're right at the edge of the pit, so like we would. And people would, when they'd hear one of their favorite songs, they'd make their way into the pit and bounce around a little bit. But everybody was taking care of each other. And like if one of the kids made their way in, everybody was like, they were taking care of each other. So responsible adults still, but having a good time, cutting loose. But
it's not a hate breed show, that's for sure.
Nobody's swinging fists or elbows. Yeah.
So one of the coolest things, and I haven't been to a matches show in a long time, as is maybe a lot of other people, but I know that over the last 10, 15 years, something like that, one of the funniest things and coolest things to me is that when you guys play your song, it's scratched out or whatever you want to call it, track 11, the crowd and the match's fans just started doing this thing. And I never experienced it live because I haven't seen you guys live since before this started. But one of the things that the crowd does is instead of the ooh, Lad, what does everybody do?
They meow instead of hum.
They meow, and so the meowing starts.
That is not my doing.
I know
we did not orchestrate that.
so the meowing starts in the middle of the song, and I posted some video, and you're like laughing. You're having such it's like it's coming, but you can't believe it's happening.
We fought it for the longest time, and I'll tell you why. I was laughing at this show specifically is because we fought it for the longest time. Like around the tail end of when we were touring, people would start meowing instead of humming there. That was also like a weird song that like made its way into our normal set, like late in our career too. But it was like a cast off song that was like you put it on the album last, like here's a weird one that didn't quite fit in the track list. And then like we noticed that people were like wanting to hear it. We would play it after the show in the parking lot sometimes on acoustic guitars, and like everybody always knew the words, and like it's a weird song. It doesn't like have hooks or anything. I just kind of like, for lack of a better term, just kind of spit lyrics the whole time. It's one of those weird ones. And then, but like everybody knew all the words, and so we're like, okay, we'll add this to the set. And then people started the meowing, and we were like, what are you doing? Stop it. And then we took it out of the set because the meowing annoyed us. We were like, that's not how we wrote it. And then like John was our guitar player was like the last one to be like, no, we're not putting it in the set. People ruin the song. And eventually he like on one of the reunion shows, he like embraced it and like put on a cat shirt on this tour to like tell people like, all right, it's cool. But the reason why I was laughing on stage, sorry, it's a circuitous story, but the reason I was laughing was because before the show, he was like, hey, does Chicago meow? I forget. Is that just the Bay Area and New York? And I was like, let me ask the crowd. So I just jumped down to the barricade and I was like, guys, important question. Do you meow in track 11? And the 5 people in front of me were like, no way. That is a Bay thing. We do not do that. We don't. And I was like, John, they don't do it. And he's like, okay. And he threw the shirt. He had a shirt with a cat face on it. He threw it behind his amp and was like, all right, that bit is out of the repertoire. And then when the audience starts meowing, I lost it. And I was like, well, they lied.
Well, so not only that, I guess much maybe to your chagrin, but it seemed that when that song, which closed the regular set list, and I appreciated your wink to let us know, like, hey, we're coming back. Like, are they coming back? Like, yeah, we knew you were coming back. Salty Eyes hadn't gone yet, but but the crowd literally continued meowing. Lad, was it 6-7 minutes? Like,
it felt like a long time. I didn't have it on a watch, but I wanted to ask Shawn, did you plan to finish the track and then leave? It seemed like you made a change of plans in the moment.
Good eye. Yeah, that was an audible for sure. That's never happened. I think these few shows are the first time that we've ever closed a set with this song, which is like another just weird move of ours. But yeah, we closed the set with it. And then in San Francisco, we just finished the song and then did a normal encore. But this time, like at that middle section, sometimes when the meowing is really strong, I'll tell Matt to stop playing the kick drum because he'll keep playing the kick drum just to keep time a lot of times. And I was like, stop the kick. And because the crowd was just going so strong that I was like, we don't need anything. Let him go. And then the moment that none of us were playing along with it, I was like, we could leave right now. But then I was trying to convey that to the 4 guys on the stage, and we had never done it before. So Matt got it, and he was like, "Oh, dang!" And then Justin started coming in on bass, and I was like, "Whoa, stop!" Yeah. And then while I was telling Justin, like, "Walk off," then John started coming in. I was like, "Stop!" and then we got on the same page.
So in that case, would it be safe to say that crowd has the record for the longest consecutive meow?
Yeah.
Because I really felt like we were part of a moment there, and we were like meowing along, but like laughing along, and it just kind of, I don't know, seemed to be like perfect.
When it started 10 years ago, that was like, I wasn't, I guess, familiar enough with ideology about memes to understand that like a meme could be something that wasn't on the internet, that wasn't like a Giga Chad face or something like that. Like, but then realizing now, like, oh, cool, this is like a live meme that our crowds have figured out that they can add to our set, and that is like this interactive element. And then like the other thing that we know about memes is that like they like to constantly change, right? And I felt like in Chicago, it was like the genome morphing.
Lad, do you have any other questions for Shawn about the set or about the show? I gotta say, it was just a great atmosphere.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. Like I do have a couple, and Shawn, I want you to verify if I observed this correctly. So one of the things I loved about the show, and you can correct me if I missed any of this, but it had a very DIY feel to it in that, you guys are setting up your own guitars, you're tuning your own guitars. You don't have a tech on the side handing you a freshly tuned up guitar or whatever. And you're actually plugged into real amps, and you're plugged in. I didn't see anybody on wireless. I think you were like tethered, right? Plugged in on cables.
I think John's the only one that goes wireless. I just put down my guitar if I want to go too far from my amp. But I think that actually in Chicago, a third of the way through the set, he was like getting some static on it, and he switched to cable. So yeah, we were all
and
we were all
Wedge.
cabled.
wedge monitors? Did you have in ears or
Yeah,
you
just wedge monitor. Yeah,
wedge?
just old
Yeah,
school. Yeah.
and
I had
you
my
did,
the earplugs that I had in to like bring the volume down a little bit, protect my eardrums, were wadded up toilet paper from the House of Blues bathroom.
Me and Lad actually went to CVS so that he could get some earplugs beforehand.
yeah, I
he
did. I
didn't
was
have
being
any.
being responsible adult. Yeah,
No, I
I
always wear foamies when I go to other shows, but like stage, the foam like puts my voice in my head too much.
yeah, I could see.
So I find that the wadded up toilet paper it just can't be beat.
Yeah. So anyway, I noticed that, and you did have like a stage manager who would help with the mic, so it didn't come unplugged when you crowd surf. But it just had a whole DIY feel, and I loved that about it. It felt like a local show, like back in the day, where you're doing it all yourself, and that's a very punk rock move. I loved that about it.
Yeah, our crew was two people. That guy that was like protecting the mic cable is our band manager. He's our friend. He's been our friend. He's been managing us for like 10 years. He does all the web store stuff. And then we brought out our merch person. She's Monica Brown, who's just the venue would have sold for us, but like she toured with the band for like years and years and years, and like I feel like the fans love her. It's like her tour too, you know what I mean? So
The merch line was a little rough, but if you find, I kept saying to
that's because
Lad,
everyone was hugging Monica Brown. See?
I was like, I'm going to go to the bathroom. If the merch line's a little shorter, then I'm going to wait and get us stuff. And then eventually, like 5 minutes before you guys went on, I was like, I got to get in one last pee.
Yeah.
I got it. The merch line was short and we got what we needed.
Yeah,
That's
it worked
the
out.
secret. You got to choose the one right before the band plays, or choose the one song in the set that you're like, I can miss this one. I've either seen it a bunch or it's my least favorite song, and when they play it, I go to the merch line and I go get my shirt without a line. That's what I do.
I think with your fans, though, I don't think there's any one of those songs that anybody's going to bail on. Like with that crowd, nobody wanted to bail and head to the merch line, kind of thing.
I've been to so many shows. I've seen every band that I like over 10 times because we've toured with a lot of them. So I can bail on a song.
In your case, yeah.
One of my greatest accomplishments of that evening is that I did not go pee during your set. I don't know how.
Wow.
I go to the bathroom because I drink a bunch during the show, but somehow I held it in and I didn't have to leave because it was tight. It was sold out. It was tight in the House of Blues. So
yeah,
I was really proud of it. I told my wife. I told
everyone. Did you ever go upstairs?
We went up there just to like check it out, not during the show. Like we got there pretty soon after the doors opened, and so Lad and I we just did a lap, right? So we went around the whole first floor. We went to did we go to the third floor? I can't remember.
I think we did.
Okay, yeah, I think we just checked everything out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shawn, I had a question for you. Well, I have a bunch, but I'll try to, keep it to a minimum. But during the show, a fan threw a note on stage, which you picked up and read, and they asked if they could play guitar on stage. And they wanted to play on Sick Little Suicide. So I've seen that go well. In this case, it went really well. I've seen it go very poorly too. And this was your closer. This is the closing song. So it's a risky move. So luckily in this case, and I ended up following that kid on Instagram. He's great. He plays in a cover band and all kinds of stuff. And he did well, and you were able to get out in the crowd, and so that's super fun. But I
have to admit, when I saw who passed the note up, who he was. He's come up on stage and played with us. He's played that song at a smaller show. I want to say it was in Australia. I think he was an Australian kid.
I think so.
Yeah. Oh no, actually he might have played the Jack Slap Cheer, but I knew that he could hack it. We have done that a couple times. I mean, it's not part of the actual shtick. I'm sure did you guys see that girl play Good Riddance, Time of Your Life on this latest Green Day tour?
Yeah.
There was an amazing video that was very recent of her just killing that song. That was really risky because that's just her and Billy Joe.
And in an arena.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like, my guitar is the less important of the two guitars if you put me and John on like a weighted scale there. And at that point in the set, sometimes I'm like so amped on the crowd that I play the song like a beginner also. So you can't be much worse than I am at that point in the set.
If it's bad though, like if I don't know if you've done that before, but if it's bad, do you just cut the guitar or what do you do? Just let it go?
Yeah, I think. Well, honestly, we didn't have a plan. We didn't have a plan for it, so you probably would have heard it if it was bad. But and the front of house was just the House of Blues front of house. We did have our friend doing front of house in San Francisco who knows the set really well, so he would have cut it out of the house. And like you saw in the set, sometimes I will put down my guitar and we'll just go 3-piece with bass drums and John on guitar while I go mess about in the crowd and crowd surf and stuff. So like you can always fade down the volume on it in the house. You'll still hear it pouring off the stage, but like I said, at that point in the song, it's pretty sloppy. It's in E, so like if it just kind of rings out in E, it still works a bit, and But you like to think that if somebody passed that note forward, they're not totally bullshitting you.
You would hope, yeah, yeah.
But
it is really cool when it works well. It's really cool. Like the audience appreciates it and kind of goes nuts for it.
Have you seen it go really wrong?
Yeah, and I've seen them have like sometimes Blink will pull somebody up and then they're silent stage. They're all in-ear monitors, but the kid playing doesn't have a monitor. They can't hear themselves, and so they can't. They get out of time.
What song do they do that on? Is it always the same one?
It's All the Small Things usually is what they do. They haven't been doing it on this tour because they got pyro and stuff, but they've done it before, and sometimes it's gone kind of poorly. So I love it when it goes well, though. It's really fun to see.
I've only seen it go well, but the 2 times I saw it go well were 2 different Green Day concerts. So basically, Billy Joe called them up on stage, and they were phenomenal. I'm like, are you sure this person wasn't maybe picked up before? Because they were amazing. These guitarists that he pulled out of the. So, but it was cool.
And that's the Time of Your Life is not, it's not the easiest finger pick. I mean, like, you know what I mean? Like it's there's a cadence to it. It's not just like hammering out 3 power chords.
Yeah.
So yeah,
well, I saw it was different in Pittsburgh. They didn't do that. They did. It was My Authority. It was I want to be the
Minority.
That one. Minority. Yeah, sorry. Yeah. So it was a little bit different, but
that's also a little tricky. It's like 6/8. Did you get the jam? Did you get the jam? Did you get the jam?
Anyway, he nailed it. This kid.
I mean, look, like I yeah, I'm sure the videos of it going wrong don't circulate the same way.
Sure.
Because you always feel for like, I don't know if you guys go to shows, but even like going to reunion shows and like knowing that a band is playing that hasn't played for a while, like sometimes when like they step up in that like in those like solo moments, I'm like even worried for the band members that they're gonna hit a stinker for us. You know what I mean? So yeah, to see just like a kid or like just an armchair guitar player get up there, you kind of are just like sort of bracing for them, like, come on, please do good.
Yeah, well, it was a cool moment. Final question, then I'll let you go and we'll let Steve close out with his question. But Decomposer turns 20 in a couple of years.
Yeah.
Any discussions? I mean, you don't have to spoil it here, but we're dropping a hint here that this was really cool, the 20-year birthday of Yvonne.
Yeah, Dahl. I mean, I think thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, no, I mean, I think I already like kind of despoiled that a little bit in saying that we want to do some more shows. And also, the reflection on like I think it just worked as a show. So if when Decomposer comes around, I don't think we're gonna do the like play the record from front to back kind of thing that we already did. That was fun, but maybe we do some shows that are just like a little more weighted on those songs. Maybe hear a little deeper into the cuts off that album. But like I'm not out here trying to play like track 9 off of, that nobody still streams off of one of our other records. You know what I mean? Like I want to play what people want to hear, and it's fun. The degree to which people sing along, it also takes a lot of the pressure off of us on stage. The fact that I don't want to say that our fans are like forgiving per se, but when that many people are singing the words, like I dropped a few lyrics, I'm going to be honest. But I could just look at the front row and read someone's lips and catch back up. You know, it's almost like a teleprompter is there in front of you. And that is super helpful. And when you're on stage, you sort of feel like it's sort of like, you know, playing the video game on easy or bumper bowling or something like that, which is nice. I appreciate that. If we were doing like a stadium tour and every night doing this thing, I'd be like, I gotta polish up. I gotta be so much more professional than I am. But there's a nice kind of loose punk rock thing that can happen doing it the way it just happened. I like that.
Yeah.
Very
Awesome.
cool. Steve, anything else?
No, dude, thanks for a good show. If there's another one some point soon, we look forward to seeing it for sure.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you guys.
Well, I'll tell you what, we don't like to close out the show. We did the top 3 for the concert that I went to. So Lad and Steve, you guys want to do the top 3 favorite songs? And I kind of want Shawn to play too. I don't know, and it's probably really tough, but maybe you can give us your favorite song to play that evening, that specific evening. Which one really just stood out to you based on, I don't know, crowd reaction or just how you felt about it? Maybe you can do that, but we'll let the guys go first here. Steve and Lad, what were your top 3 favorite of the evening?
I'll go first. So 3-1, 3-2-1. I would say number 3 was the last song of the night, "Sick Little Suicide." You know, that was the one where we know that the night's over. Let's just throw it all, give our last efforts. And there was that cool moment where that kid came up on stage and got to play guitar with you, and you were jumping in the crowd. You crowd surf, jumped in a few times. You got some chutzpah, as they would say. You walked into the crowd a couple of times and just let people go. Again, that's part of the intimacy of a Matches show, which was really cool. So number 3, I think, is "Sick Little Suicide." Number 2, I loved you guys started off the quote unquote encore with "Salty Eyes," and I was looking forward to what that would sound like live for quite a long time. That's my my 9-year-old daughter's favorite Matches song, and my wife's as well. So I was told you must get a video of that. And I'm a firm believer of the 60-second rule, which is you could take videos, but no more than 60 seconds, because you gotta 30 to 60 seconds. You got to enjoy the song live, but you also want to capture it. So that's just my personal thing. But the video I took was those first 60 seconds, and you're just kind of hanging out there. You got your hand on the crowd, and everybody's singing along, and it was really good. And I think my favorite song of the evening, though, was you call the track 11. I always just say "Scratched Out," but whatever you call it, I think the meowing and being part of it in person was just, it was just another level. It was really cool. I think that was my favorite one of the night. Honorable mention of "Chain Me Free."
Yeah, that's a good list. Kind of hard to beat. I mean, I enjoyed so many of them, but I would go as number 3, "Dog-Eared Page" opening number. There's just, that starts off the energy. It's just electric in the whole building. Everybody's going nuts. So love that one. Number 2, "Dee My Doe" Part 2. Something about that. That's just such an earworm. Whenever I'm introducing somebody to the Matches, I start there, because I feel like this is universal appeal. You can't listen to that song and not like it. So I was really stoked that you guys played that one. And then number 1, all-time favorite, "Jack Slap Cheer." Just straightforward punk rock tune. Absolutely love it. Honorable mention to "Paper Cut Skin," though. That was a lot of fun too.
Very cool. Shawn, do you have one that really stood out for you that evening?
I mean, to me, we talked about this, but I think that the meowing encore was the Chicago memory. That's the indelible one that's gonna stick with me. I'll be remembering that in 10 years from now. So, not saying it's the best song per se, but that was the moment to me this time. Yeah.
All right. Well, without spoiling any announcements that haven't been spoiled, anything that you want to plug or talk about? I know Cat in Space is doing fantastic. And anything you want to tell the audience about?
You've all got kids. I gotta make some graphic novels for them.
That's the first graphic novel my daughter ever read.
That's awesome. I kind of have a question for you guys about. We talked about playing more shows or reunion stuff, et cetera, et cetera. I'm kind of curious, like, what is from the audience perspective, what is the preferred method of hearing new songs, if at all. What?
New
Of
songs?
playing new songs at a show.
Do you want to hear anything new? Do you want an EP? Because my sense is like, we go to these shows, like, how will you ever fit anything new? That's so we did put a Pixies song, a Pixies cover in the set, and that was super fun. But that was like slightly testing the waters on like, what if we play something that's not like massively popular with our fans, like a new song would be. Yeah, any thoughts on that? Do you guys just like it when bands are just like, okay, cool, here's a new record, or are you like, hey, put out a couple and then maybe play one, or like, how does that work? Does anybody what's how should I be thinking about this?
Yeah.
Well, I think that I love to listen to I love to listen to a new record, right, in its entirety. But in this world, I feel like putting out a couple of songs beforehand, teasing them or whatever, put out 2-3 songs, like, Blink-182, one of my all-time favorite bands. They put out, 3 or 4 of their tracks before the full album came out. Actually, I think they put out 6, but that first one was like a year in advance. And then when they played live, they played, a handful of those. And even this summer when they played, I think it was Not Now. They played one song that even wasn't released. So I think in terms of the matches, because you guys don't play a whole lot, the majority of the audience is probably going to want to hear the stuff that they know. But I definitely think that they would be open to like 1 or 2 new songs. If they were out in advance, though, I feel like those are fair game. And I'll make one other comparison. A band that I travel for, they're called Ludo. They're from St. Louis, really weird alternative band. They come back together. They've recorded 3 new tracks maybe in 3 years. And they put those songs out. They play every Halloween at Halloween. And they played every time they've released a new track, they play it. And the crowd is totally into it. And I honestly think that the Ludo fandom is very similar in my mind to the Matches fandom. So I feel like if you guys, let's say you are going to do a bunch of shows next summer or whatever it is, and before those shows you put out 2 new songs and then you put those 2 songs in the set list, I think people will be super excited to hear them. 100%.
I'm with you too. I think that I've always been one that if I hear the song before the show, I'm more into it. If it's a band that just says, hey, this is a new one and I've never heard it before, I tend to forget about it until I hear it again. And so because you're so focused on what you know and what you want to hear, you forget about the new stuff because it just doesn't permeate as much. But if I heard it before, I get more into it, more excited. So I'm on the same page.
I think there's a couple of factors here. So one, if you play a new song that hasn't been released, then in some way the audience feels special because they're like, hey, I heard it first. I heard it live first before it was even released. So there's that element. But at the same time, if they don't know the words, part of the magic of a Matches show is that everybody knows all the words and they sing along all the time, and that makes it super fun. So, but you do have a core group of, like Steve mentioned, of true fans. So I think if you were to release something even shortly before, they're going to learn it and they're going to know it and they're going to sing along when you show up. So I think it could please different crowds doing that either way. I don't know if there's a right or a wrong way to do it, but certainly if you put them out there, I know that the fans are going to soak it all in and be ready for them at the show. They're probably talking amongst each other. I hope they play the new one,
Cool. All right. Thanks, guys.
Take that in the brain. Sounds like we're there's going to be some exciting times ahead for Matches fans, whatever that may mean. And buy First Cat and Space Age Pizza and the subsequent books. I think Soup of Doom was the second book. I think there's more and some other good stuff coming out. So follow Shawn, follow the Matches, and all generations can enjoy.
Thank you, fellas.
Got it.
Thanks, Shawn.
Yeah, thanks, Shawn. And thank you guys out there for listening to our show today. This has really been a special one because once again, we love to share these experiences with you. 2 totally different experiences, but hopefully what you got out of this show today was how special it was for those of us, myself, Movie Steve, who couldn't join us today, but Lad and Steve, going to these shows, bands that we love, the atmosphere, the people, the music. It's just amazing, right? And being able to talk about it was obviously, a treat for us, but hopefully you guys enjoyed it too. So, Steve, hopefully everybody out there enjoyed it too. If you guys did, we'd love to hear about it. Hit us up on the Discord, hit us up on the socials. Let us know what you think. You want to find where those things are? Go to our hub, www.hsnepod.com. That'll link you to all of those things where you can talk to us.
That's right. You can buy some swag there, t-shirts, hats, mugs, all that good stuff. Give us a 5-star rating or review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you listen. Shawn, thank you so much for joining. Chris, really appreciate the Weezer recap. Lad, thank you for joining us as well on the matches recap. Until next time, keep on rocking your dad bods, throw up your rock hands, and blast the pop punk.
If you're enjoying this podcast or any podcasts on the Dragon Wagon Radio Network, be sure to check out the Dragon Wagon shop. You can tout your podcast pride while supporting your favorite indie podcast network. Make sure to check it often for new items and limited time designs. So shop now at dragonwagonshop.com. Get your dragon swag on.
It's Dragon Wagon.